where I've been looking at the future of humanity from holistic well-being, and I talk about holistic well-being with the W, being a whole, the whole system as in entirety. Meditation, they say, is the best medication to all agitations, and this is even doctors saying it who come from such scientific backing, and they're also transforming.
You said you personally met Steve Jobs.
Yes, 3 times, in fact. He was trying to hire me to join Apple also at one stage. So I can tell you without any doubt at all, Intaaya is such a magical place. It is just divine. Once people go there, they just totally transformed.
Yeah, hello. Welcome to Spiritual Corporation podcast. This is me, Marina Davies, and Anuraj Gambhir, our co-host of our retreat at Intaaya Leadership Sanctuary, and award-winning innovator, global mystic, visionary, and founder of Wise Mirror. Anuraj works at the intersection of technology and holistic well-being. Anuraj, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Sure, Marina. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be working with you on this amazing retreat for the futures and for conscious leaders. So my background has been originally in the telecom space, in technology. So the two worlds that collided for me from my early days, because it was my upbringing in a way. My father was a techie and my mother was very spiritual. So the two worlds intersected very deeply for me and has shaped kind of my career, where I've been looking at the future of humanity from holistic well-being, and I talk about holistic well-being with the W, being a whole, the whole system as in entirety. And so, growing in the telecom space, designing mobile devices, even working, having the pleasure of influencing the design of the iPhone with Steve Jobs, and talking to him about spirituality and exploring so many interesting intersections of how cutting edge radical innovation can, lead to more conscious technologies and really compelling and magical user experiences. So that's been the journey that I've been on in exploring that, in helping shape that, and also learning so much from amazing number of people, conscious startups, and entrepreneurs that I've had the great pleasure to work with, and also then being involved with a lot of global events and entities. So moving into this space from heading innovation for large corporates, being in at the at the helm of cutting edge technologies, but then seeing where humanity today, because we're really seeing stress, anxiety, burnouts, especially in the corporate world, which is the biggest. And actually, as you get to the top, loneliness becomes such a key factor of where it leads to in terms of the fatigue and stress that leaders face. And I think it's a really a very important time because there's so much going on in this world, in the VUCA world that we talk about. And when we talk about the key megatrends, it's a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, which I'm sure many people know about the VUCA trend. But we want to flip it to a new VUCA, which is what I call
Trend? I don't even
vision.
know anything about this trend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So VUCA, was has been talked about in many places, including like at the World Economic Forum, and I was very, honored to be involved with them in 2020 to speak there in Davos, and being involved with the formation of, Wisdom Health, looking at really conscious leadership at a whole new level, and that's what inspired me then later to, which I'd been building up on creating and envisioning Wise Mirror, which came from Black Mirror to White Mirror, and then we flipped it to a Wise Mirror. So Black Mirror is a series on Netflix which is very powerful. Unfortunately, it's too dystopian. It's where it's like a Terminator plus plus really, and
There's some most horrible situations, aren't they?
yeah. So, it's showcasing AI and so many of the exponential technologies, but unfortunately they're used in negative connotations, and the world doesn't need that. We've got enough of dystopia around us
Yes.
in many ways, right? How do we flip it to a utopia? And then we flipped it to a utopia that we call WETopia. So it's the flip from me to we, from scarcity to abundance, from fear to love. And really these amazing need where humanity needs to transform. And I think that's where this journey that I've been so blessed to be on on how technology for super good can be, and wellness technologies. And within that, I actually encapsulate as spirit tech. We've got heal tech, and we've got cutting edge conscious tech as a whole, or health tech elements, which are clinical grade wearables and devices. And in fact, I have some of them here right now, which we will be showcasing in the retreat and actually getting people to use them. Because what we can do is measure people before, during, and after retreats and see how much they've actually improved based on the amazing modalities that we'll be taking them through. So we've got devices like this one is the Mindwave Mobile, which is a brainwave headset. It's measuring your EEG, your electroencephalography, so your alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta waves, and gives you a detailed makeup of your, from your prefrontal cortex, your brainwave states, and telling you about your attention and focus versus meditation and relaxation, and how quickly you get into flow states. So through the right practices of meditation, breathing, and every, nature healing, and so much that we'll be doing and immersing into, we'll be able to see a very clear impact on how quickly people get into flow or into the zone. And then there are devices to measure that.
I think my audience, maybe not everybody knows about all the brainwaves. Can we just go through the basics like really quickly? So there are 5 brainwaves, right?
Correct. That's right. So we've got, I'll just go through them with you. We've got starting with, delta. Delta is sleep. High delta is deep sleep, really. So delta ranges between 0.5 to 4 hertz in frequency. And basically, it's really when you got kind of detached awareness and sleep happening to quite an extent. And then we've got the next run after that is theta, which is 4 to 8 hertz. And it's really when meditation, intuition, and memory sort of play. Then we've got alpha. So alpha is something called between 8 to 13 hertz. And that's when you really have visualization. It's the creative, innovative sort of phase of your brainwaves. And that's what alpha priming is something that I've been working on and exploring with many of these early stage startups in neurotechnology. And NeuroSky has been one of the early players that I've been involved with from last almost 20 odd years now. And, with Alpha Prime, we actually set up, so I was very fortunate to be involved in setting up the world's first lab or innovation thinking lab called iZone in India, where we looked at alpha priming as one of the key elements of putting people into the right states based on how you take them through a journey for innovation workshops. So there's a lot of that we can, I'll be happy to explain and talk about. Then we have beta waves, which is where you're really your active state, your alertness, concentration, cognition, and that is between 13 to 32 hertz. And then the final one is gamma. And this is where we talk about gamma consciousness, which is 32 hertz to 100 hertz. And it's insight, peak, focus, and really expanding consciousness as a whole. So gamma, and then theta also is very much in that space of deep meditation and healing modality. So, theta healing, gamma consciousness, and alpha priming, they're the kind of the main ones that I try to see which are the positive, markers, you could say, or neuromarkers, one may call them. And then we've got biomarkers we can measure from wearables of all sorts from head to toe. You can look at heart rate variability, measuring physiological stress. You can look at, blood pressure. You can look at galvanic skin response, something called electrodermal activity, which is pretty much your perspiration. So there are devices to do that. And then you could be looking at SpO2, your oxygen saturation levels. So a lot of the watches do that, the smart watches and so forth will be doing those sort of things. And then what I also am very fortunate to be involved with is an entity called HeartMath. And their device, this is called the Coherence Plus, the Inner Balance Coherence Plus, which, I sort of plug it to my ear and it's measuring my brain-heart coherence. So it's, the heart intelligence is been one of the top areas I feel that has been undermined, and which is what we need to expand and really go deeper into.
We focus a lot on spiritual corporation, definitely in opening the hearts, because in all this stress the cards are not really open, and people think the more they use the mind, the more successful and focused they're going to be. But it's not always the case, and there is a lot of science already behind, right? And then we in corporate, we're probably using 2 brainwaves out of 5, but we have 5. So using other states of consciousness is extremely important, and it's pure neuroscience. It's not a woo-woo or anything, right? It's proper science.
Totally. I mean, everything is very scientifically based, and that's where I look at all the conscious technologies which have deep insight from clinical grade, wearables and devices where we can measure people, because it's really what you measure you can change easily, and the quantified self movement is definitely a key theme around it, where people, and especially senior leaders and so forth, who really want to measure and have the right dashboards and customize, or I would say hyper personalized dashboards of their themselves, their employees, and the corporation as a whole. So, and I think that's why I really love what resonates. Spiritual Corporation, what you've founded, is just such a beautiful thing where we really need to awaken the new age corporates to be so connected to themselves, because it all starts within us. And and that's when you can truly lead, when you awaken within. And this is where Intaaya, which is just full of magic. And I've just come back yesterday from taking 11 people there from all over the world, mostly Australia, who were very fortunate to be experiencing the magic of Intaaya. And the way I see them, I saw them coming in, going within Taya, and really about becoming polished diamonds, and the early stage of becoming into that stage of, transformation. And it truly is, it's very hard to just describe in words, because my personal journey and being involved so deeply now with Intaaya and the whole community and amazing people that we've building around it, including yourself now, it's just been phenomenal, that journey. So we have to really share it with people who really want to transform humanity, which is so needed today. So I was talking earlier about the VUCA, the VUCA,
Yes.
which was the old VUCA. And so the new VUCA is vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. So this is the what we really, the transformation that we need, and where, in fact, in Wise Mirror, we've been looking at the key traits. We've got 13 traits there, or attributes, which is um, deep empathy, unconditional love, having technology being used for the super good, and then many other, the power of imagination, equality for all beings as a whole, and many others. So one can look into those at wisemirror.org/about on the website. But we can share some links, and also I've written many articles also in this space of technology and wellness and spirituality, and especially after my awakening from the first visit to Intaaya, because what I found was it is nature, and which is so abundant, and Mama Bali here, and the power of where Intaaya is located, the spiritual energy is so powerful, because nature, the healing you get from that itself is just unbelievable. And nature is the ultimate technology was the title of the article I wrote the first time, and I was just totally profoundly impacted with my own healing after going through some major incident of being also attacked by a dog a month before I got to Intaaya. And the amplified, expanded healing I got is just, I cannot put in words. Yeah.
Did the healing happen at the entire retreat?
Well,
Or
I
before
think
that?
because I've been coming back to Bali and been to Intaaya so many times, I think it's just, it's again about, we talk about this concept of blue zones, which is also another article I looked at I wrote on the next level of blue zones, which is a lot more deeper within. It's who we surround ourselves with, right? And blue zones talks about what we eat, the nutrition, the nourishment as a whole, looking at the environment we are in, the basically the activity that we are doing. So all those elements, but take it to a next level where Sadhguru talks about inner engineering. It's how do we go deeply within us, and how do we steer our true being, our consciousness, to connect with the divine and profoundly impact everybody around us, all of nature going within us in that form. And I think that's the expansiveness that humanity needs. It's all about collaboration. This term I'd coined called collaboration being open collaborative innovation. And yeah, so I feel that's where, the world needs to move into this new modality of an awakening, where even with AI, which I really call augmented intelligence, and we'll be talking a lot more about that during our retreat on how technology today is sort of influencing us and impacting us, and how we could transform that to be used in a lot more positive and impactful way for each of us.
This is really interesting. And what I wanted to ask you is the oxygen. So you were talking about that you will measure the saturation level, and I have such a theory, which is not which is only a theory right now, or a hypothesis, if you will, that my personal spiritual journey, my spiritual awakening experience, was very linked to the ozone treatment. So I use this ozone treatment of the blood, and that increases the oxygenation of the blood, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Totally, yeah, it does.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I felt, just one day I had a conversation with a friend, and she said, you can do everything you want, and you can just decide that you are happy and you will be happy. And I woke up in the morning and I had absolute stillness. I think we drank like all the wine we had at home, like 6 bottles of wine. And we had this conversation. I woke up in the morning and I had clarity. I had very, very, very sharp brain, and I was dealing with brain fog for many years. And I woke up, I was clear. There was no noise. And I just started going. I had my job, but I managed to do my job full time and see clients on the side, just for free, just family and friends, but like see clients in a personal therapy. So I started my energy work and my counseling experience parallel, and I had energy for everything, and it was so clear. And then only when Russia-Ukraine war came down, and all my life went upside down, this is when I lost that, and now I'm in search, and I'm always trying to find and to get it back, and I'm getting it back in pieces, but not like that complete clarity. But then I started thinking, and analyzing, and I realized that this is the time when I was going through this therapy. So maybe the level of oxygen affected my consciousness. What do you think?
Well, I certainly think it's a very key influence, because breathing, and we talk about prana, which is a breath, obviously, and oxygen is the source of our breathing, and breathing practices are obviously, there is such an amazing depth of how we can optimize that and go in deeper breathing and so forth. But having the right intake of oxygen, and we can measure SpO2 with many of the smart watches. So I just use it with my Apple Watch, really, to measure it with that. But the point is that, ozone therapy and oxygen, there's HBOTs right now, so hyperbaric oxygen therapy, these chambers, which are becoming extremely popular in wellness centers. So a lot of the work I'm doing is guiding the design of futuristic wellness centers and hubs, and helping retreats add new age biohacking, or what we really call bio-optimization wellness opportunities. So I've got a colleague here who's a guru in this space, Dr. William, who's based in Bali right now. And with him, we formed this entity called Soma Vida, where we're really looking at how to take forward bio-optimization from ancient wisdom, because he's also trained in Ayurveda, in Chinese medicine, and as a lifestyle medicine doctor, we're taking a lot of the know-how from that time and adding cutting-edge new age technology with red light therapy, HBOTs, cryogenic elements, then infrared sauna capabilities, and many other things which you tend to see. But with that, also adding wellness technologies with the new age wearables and other devices, and the brainwave sensors and other elements that I see more holistically coming in, will provide a very unique proposition for looking at well-being as a whole. So I think that journey is on. And of course, when you were talking about the coherence is why we are seeing, because the world today, as we're seeing wars and so much going on around us, when we're looking at, and I'm also part of this big movement called Origin, where we're looking at on the 17th of October, maybe hopefully with the vision of 1 billion people meditating at the same time. And we can raise the consciousness of our planet with amazing events like that. And we can actually measure it. So I've just installed the very first in Indonesia and in Bali here, of course, in Intaaya. In fact, only in the last 2 days, the Global Consciousness Project 2.0 device from HeartMath Institute. So very fortunate to be involved with them on this amazing uh, exploration where we've got, a scientifically very deeply designed device using random number generators, RNGs, which can then give a pattern of global events. And based on the patterns, we're able to, and through a special algorithm, they're able to measure and see how that impacts global consciousness on a quantum sort of measurement level. And so we're really amazed to see. In fact, we saw some very positive impact of that, which was only happening in 3 other places out of the 400 in the world that is odd where this is installed. And it was happening at Intaaya. So I can tell you without any doubt at all, the Intaaya is such a magical place. It is just divine. Once people go there, they just totally transformed in so many ways.
So the device showed some good numbers for Intaaya. What did it show?
Well, it
I'm
actually
not
showed
surprised, but it's interesting that
it's
it
a
was shown.
color grading. So it showed that it's on high coherence. It actually went
Okay.
into a higher level of the color change from purple to green at that time. And I think the other color, there are different color formats. I'm still getting familiar with it, but you can actually look at it from gcp2.net, I think /live. You can actually see all the different GCP devices that are installed in the world and see the level of coherence that's happening. So, with events like Origin, which is going to be ancestral wisdom, celebrating Mother Earth, with the anthem, with so many connections to ancient wisdom, and using modern technology to measure consciousness like here, and also then using AI in whole new ways to create that what I've been working on called awakened wise intelligence. Um, these aspects come in so profoundly, to influence how we can, take humanity to a new level. And what I call it is elevating humanity from mindset to heartset.
You mentioned New Age a few times, and
Yeah.
as spiritual corporation, we actually bring New Age wisdoms to the corporate world. And when you say New Age, normally people think these are guys which look really weird, don't shower, and don't have a home or whatever, and they're completely woo and strange. But you are, an entrepreneur, a tech guru, and you worked in a lot of corporates, and you are talking about New Age. So can you talk a little bit more about New Age? What is New Age, and why New Age? Why we're talking about New Age here?
Right. Well, my reference of New Age is or my meaning behind it is really it's a new beginning. It's actually a reawakening in many ways of humanity, and it's how we need to shift, that consciousness to a new level, which is what the New Age refers to, saying how does a more holistic approach to life comes, where we definitely take into account things from ancient wisdom, and a lot of people used to shun a lot of the things as woo-woo from wellness, but we are now they're all coming in with such deep scientific proofs to see that quantum consciousness and being able to look at, as, science is catching up in so many things. Ayurveda, a lot of even meditation was considered woo-woo 30 years ago, right? Now it's proven to
So
be
now
one
it's
of the best.
completely scientifically proven, isn't it?
Fully proven, yeah. I mean, meditation, they say, is the best medication to all agitations. And this is even doctors saying it who come from such scientific backing. And they're also transforming. We've seen new age doctors in that form come in now to say, how do we look at lifestyle medicine? How do we look at, aspects of biogenics and all these coming together in that form? I think I would say your genetic data is just a small part. It's how do you transform it to become epigenetics. The whole term of that is we're talking about
Yes.
90% plus is what you can influence and you can change. And I've seen that happen. I mean, people are coming here to Bali right now, for example, to heal themselves from so much they've going through in life. And you personally have been here and experienced that. And it's not just Bali, it's how do we create this experience everywhere within us. But when you go to these places and when like you come to Bali or you go even next level and you go to Intaaya, which is just like what I call kind of heaven on earth or Lanyakea, it's you feel just entirely awakened to a new proposition. And that's where I think it clears your mind and it opens up such a creative um, you know portal for collaboration at a whole new level. And this is where I think we have this opportunity, very rare opportunity, and why the founder of Intaaya, who is so blessed to be creating them around the world, Cesare is just like he's doing such a phenomenal job in proliferating it. And we've got Intayas coming up in Bhutan and in South Africa, in of course Azores in Portugal, and and many others to come. So and the land has come to him, to the founder. It is not that he's gone and found the land. It has come through a very, very deeply spiritual basis, and now we are scientifically proving it with things like the GCP, with other measurement tools and devices of bioresonance measurements and so forth. So, even I'm learning so much now from in this area of spirit tech, which again, more recently, I've been deeply involved now with the Spirit Tech Foundation or Spirit Tech Ventures based out of San Francisco. And they've actually got 380 devices under that umbrella. And my colleague who's running that entity, we've just been comparing notes and sharing a lot of amazing ideas on how this can be such a key catalyst for future conscious tech devices.
It would be amazing to meet them
Yeah.
and find out more, because clearly spiritual corporation is about now we understand that most by far of our diseases, physical diseases, are related to our mental health condition, to our energy level. And then as the more we understand how mind, body, spirit is connected, the more we understand that there might be multiple interventions outside of hospital and well before we will not have to get to hospital. And as soon as we get out of hospital for our healthcare and well-being, then the office is becoming one of the most important places where we can do that. Yeah, we can do it at home, but at home we have very limited time. We spend a lot of time in the office, in corporate, and then we can use these technologies in the office to harmonize the environment, to harmonize the people, to harmonize the teams, to achieve coherence, boost innovation and creativity in the teams, right?
Totally. I think optimizing human potential through holistic well-being should be the top priority for corporates, for enterprise, and for entrepreneurs, because the human potential is limitless. It's infinite. It's how do you tap the best of people, and human resource is the most valuable resource any organization can have. Once they realize how to tap it to the most optimal level, they can, with the right tools and techniques and foundational support they can give for the well-being, it will enhance and lead to such dramatic improvements in productivity. And I think we're seeing that. For the last 10 years, I've been on the board of Well-being at Work, and we've had the global, chief wellness officers, HR officers of some of the top corporates who come to as part of this. We've had summits in over 20 countries. In fact, in Australia, we had a summit just a few months ago, and just so many new elements are coming in to see, and their corporates are waking up. But many are yet to wake up, of course, and this is where we're on the journey together to see how do we, accelerate that journey for them.
You said you personally met Steve Jobs.
Yes, 3 times, in fact. He was trying to hire me to join Apple also at one stage, which I don't know what I
Wow.
was going through when I sort of, I didn't really take on that offer at that time. But I was very much working with Apple, even with Steve Wozniak, who I also met a few years ago again, and he had invited me to his house also in Los Gatos up in California. So Steve Jobs, the first time was actually at a conference, and again, it's all about serendipity, synchronicity, as we say, and how from one end of a conference, and we just came and just collided and just ended up having a tea together. And the first discussion was about his spiritual pilgrimage, his awakening, his journey in India. And it is very much the alluding of that. which led to creating Apple later. So he went on this adventure in 1974 with his friend Daniel Kotke in April for 2.5 months to India. And he traveled to some of the amazing parts, which is where I want to take this conscious travel experiences of some of the entrepreneurs to India to experience that, along with retreats, along with the journeys. So yeah, it was really phenomenal.
Dreams to do that.
Yeah.
But I heard also that then Zuckerberg was having problems with Facebook, and
Yes.
that Steve Jobs took him to that ashram, and
Karoli Baba Ashram. Yeah.
and after that, um, Facebook became what we know it for, you
Success
know.
yeah. Well, I think it's very true. I mean, there's India is, of course, a land of dreams and infinite possibilities, and the spiritual energy there is phenomenal. And again, it's where you go. Again, we see that in many parts of the world, and in Mama Bali here with the heart chakra of the world. And I used to follow this thing called sacred sites, which is the spiritual energy of places. The gentleman called Martin Gray, who went and documented this in many places. And these places in India, like Bodh Gaya, where Buddha was again enlightenment. And then you've got other very spiritual, significant temples and places around the world, really. And last year I was in Angkor Wat twice. So you really truly feel that energy. It's about how ready are you to receive in many ways. And um, I think what Steve Jobs and in the Himalayas, when he pondered on, and it was more just having that ponder and pause moment in life to really rethink about your true purpose and your ikigai. And when you go through that, and you can be doing that in nature wherever you are, so much more. And this is why when I'm teaching or conscious leadership elements, when you got ikigai and what we called massively transforming purpose in Singularity University, or your bhag, your big, hairy, audacious goals, we talk about moonshots, and I take them further to Mars shots. We've just had a big moonshot of a slingshot around the moon. Sometimes the biggest problem of humanity is we're not thinking big enough, and cosmic exploration or space exploration is a big, area for that inspiration also now, to how we in organizations we need to think and have those visions and have being able to unite humanity to bring that of thinking in the right, most positive, but also thinking big enough. No vision is small. It's how you want to achieve it, and then you of course translate from vision to mission to objectives, and then make them more tangible, and then look at what's realistic now, and in the future then later. But I feel a lot of organizations, they get too fragmented too quickly. And having been in the corporate world for such a long time, it's how do you break those barriers, and how do you unify and collaborate at such deeper levels? Again, it comes down to human potential and optimization of your resources. Um, and
This
well-being
is
is
what
just
the organization
yeah,
has. That's the most
yeah,
important asset, isn't it? And
yeah, yeah,
when we understand that we can actually amplify human potential and extract a lot more,
mm,
and with a lot less damage to the nervous system, and to get
yeah,
everybody into that prosperity state
totally,
where we
yeah,
are relaxed, productive, and happy, and making
yeah,
money. And we go to work because we want to work.
yes,
But for that, we need that connection, right? The bigger purpose, which will unite us. And this is the number one pillar for spiritual
hmm,
corporation, to connect with this deeper purpose and come together as a collective, as a team with one
yes.
goal.
Totally. That's exactly what I just love so much about the way your vision and all your key points of formulating spiritual cooperation, because we are so aligned with that thinking. And when in my career, having led innovation for so many organizations, and the learnings I got of leading these big transdisciplinary teams, people from different, disciplines, multi-domain experience, having, the youth involved very much also. So it's how do you get the wisdom of the youth also, because what I call cross mentoring is such a key part for organizations to also imbibe. It's geographically dispersed, multicultural, all those facets need to come in, and that's where the biology and the chemistry of ideas, they can amplify, and when you get into creative innovation phases. And I've actually experienced that so
People,
much
they
hands.
don't have the energy blocks. which we have.
Yeah.
Right? They're clean. They think everything is possible. While in
Yes.
our lifetime, the science moved so much. Like we now have one planet less. Now they're discussing another planet. Half of the fruits became vegetables and vice versa. Like everything has changed since we were kids.
Yeah.
And we have so many inventions in neuroscience, and epigenetics didn't exist even before. So, and they're open, right? So it's really important. And then when we look at Asia, right, they live like this. They have this holistic well-being, traditional Chinese medicine, energy. This is prescribed in a hospital, right? Astrology is taught in India as a science.
Yes, exactly.
And when we start collaborating intra-culturally and between generations, then we can really achieve something. So we have 1 minute left.
Yes, sure.
Thank you, Anuraj, so much.
Oh.
This was very, very, very interesting. And we definitely have to continue this conversation. And definitely on the interdisciplinary innovation, we'll have a series with Zalia Muhammad from Majlis Wisdom, and we will explore further how can we create these collaborations.
Wonderful.
And deploy them in organizations.
For sure. Definitely. Very excited. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you very much. Take care. Looking forward to see you.
Likewise. Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care.